The big finance story today, Minister Enoch Godongwana is saying that he does not have the answers as to why the public sector wage bill is high. He's told a budget breakfast this morning that he will meet with unions soon to get to the bottom of this issue. Our business reporter, or rather our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, is at that gathering in Cape Town. He joins us now live. And in fact, Xolani, you have the DG in National Treasury to talk to you about this issue a bit more.
Good morning once again, Michelle. Yes, we are at the tail end of this budget breakfast where the minister was quite honest about the problems and challenges that are facing the government when it comes to National Treasury and the fiscus. And joining me now, because there are two issues that came out of this breakfast, and that is the ever-increasing wage bill, which many agree is unsustainable, which is expected to rise from 665 billion rands in 2021 to actually 702 billion rands in the year 2024-2025. And joining me right now to discuss that is the Director General in the National Treasury, Mr. Dondo Mogajane. A very honest discussion there by the Minister. Something that is quite interesting, since you have been with the National Treasury for many years, Mr. Mogajane, you would be au fait with the issues that are there when it comes to this issue of the public sector wage bill. The Minister says it doesn't seem like a problem of head count, which suggests that there could be a top-heavy leadership in the public sector, or the wages are too high. How do you view this situation ahead of that meeting that you're going to have with the unions?
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, and good morning. It's going to be a tough conversation, I can imagine, because the reality is that, yes, as a percentage of total budget, wages bill is too high. But however, it's also important to realize that, is it sustainable to keep wages like that? I don't think so. So yeah, it's going to be a tough conversation. You'll remember that 2 years ago I filed an affidavit with the Constitutional Court on matters around the final year of the last. So in there we are arguing affordability. We still argue that even today. What we got now is windfall, is increased revenue from commodity prices in particular. We don't think it's going to be, it's short term. So we think, therefore, that we have to be careful and responsible in the way we deploy these resources that are there. We cannot all put them in. That's why we are paying a little bit of it, paying debt. And the conversation around moving money to productive sectors of the economy away from consumption is a conversation that we must have. Because if it's creation of more jobs, it means the economy then flourishes, tax revenues increase, and then we can talk proper real wage increases in future. But currently, the fiscus is constrained in many ways. It's constrained. We had to balance things out. We had to ensure that we make sure we provide for the poor. We have to make sure that we attract investments, new investments, by cutting corporate income tax, and we'll see the benefits coming through. We also have to ensure that the public employment programs are accelerated. We gave the presidential employment program, say, another 18 billion over 2 years. What did we also do? We gave the social relief of distress. So doing all of these things, including a huge wage that's spiraling out of control, is a concern. So these are facts that we're going to be putting on the table as we engage with Labour later in the month. And we will obviously see. I'm not preempting the decisions, but it has to be a very honest conversation that looks at the fiscus.
When you engage with the unions, is it around the multi-year wage increases, or this is just a meeting that has to deal with one issue about finding a solution to that increasing wage bill?
No, in the past we had multi-year wage increases, and it was okay and it makes sense for everyone. And last year the negotiations started. We did not complete them, and then we agreed on a stopgap mechanism of putting 21 billion, which is giving people allowances on a monthly basis. We did that. The current agreement says if we don't reach an agreement by this year, that's why the only amount in the current wage bill is around another 20 billion or so to take care of that. So it's not ideal. Certainty, we do a multi-year expenditure framework budget, MTF budgeting system in South Africa. It makes sense to make sure that over 3 years we are able to see how and put certainty in terms of the fiscus and put certainty in terms of spending. So we will appreciate a 3-year increase, a 3-year salary negotiations and finalization and agreement. And this, we hope, come March, we'll be able to settle all of these things, and our budgeting, consultation committees at the bargaining council will come out with a product that we can all be happy with, both ourselves and Labour in this case.
Before I let you go, another important issue that came out, and it came out from other industry leaders that I engaged with earlier, is the issue of municipal capacity. Many municipalities are not using the money that is given to them, allocated to them rather, to spend. And the minister spoke about an issue which sounds political, the issue of corruption at municipal level. How do you suggest we tackle this issue going forward as the DG in the National Treasury?
Look, I think for two interventions that we're making currently, we've got something that's called the Municipal Finance Improvement Program. It's been going on for a while. It's not giving us the benefits that we want and the results that we're looking for. And it's something that we have to look at that program, that capacity building program, and hear what the minister said today. How do we partner with ABASA and APSIP and such organizations in South Africa to ensure that capacity at municipal level is enhanced? That's one, and I think we have to do that in all areas, whether it's construction, engineering, accounting, whatever capacity that's needed in a municipality. But the big issue that the minister is talking about is corruption. What is corruption? Corruption essentially, like the roads example that he gave, where a kilometer of a paved road is 12 million. It can't be. At least if you pay $1 million for a kilometer like that, then it's a lot still. But 12 million, it's not acceptable. So look, it's a cancer in our society. We have to deal with it. And obviously the law enforcement agents must come in when there's wrongdoing. That's one thing. But again, the work that we do with the AG in uncovering some of the irregular expenditure, uncovering some of the wrongful expenditure, and the famous issue where politicians get involved in tender committees, where they direct which companies to, including some of the officials who obviously have got certain preferences without following prescripts that are there. We issue instruction notes. We've got a procurement framework that we all have to subscribe to. But unfortunately, there are individuals in the system that are messing the whole thing up. But also in the same breath, we've got very honest public servants who must be supported. So I think you were saying today, Minister, that people must be reported. If there's any wrongdoing, it must be reported. The action must be taken. Disciplinary action must be taken if we find out, as accounting officers like myself, if there's anything wrong that we pick up, disciplinary action must be taken, and what people call as consequence management. If we don't do that, this state is going to collapse. This state is going to collapse. We cannot afford to have a South Africa which is a failing state, or a South Africa which is a failed state. It can only fail. Then think about the future of my children, your children. So I think we have to protect this democracy. We have to protect our country, and we cannot allow this cancer of corruption to carry on, because we're denying ordinary South African services. We're denying ordinary South Africans their livelihood. So this is a very personal issue that we must deal with, because it's about the future of my children. It's about the future of our children, about the future of this country. So that's something that I think the minister today, and even in the speech, we're speaking about corruption, state capability. These are things that we must continue talking about and ensure that we do something about. But it's also important that colleagues like public servants like myself, in the government and in municipalities, province municipalities, everywhere, to ensure that we do what we have to do, follow the prescripts. If it's about getting 3 quotations, get 3 honest quotations. If it's about putting something out for tender, put it out for tender. And if it's about getting the best deal for government, get the best deal, and not the best deal for yourself or myself. So I think it's important, and these conversations are difficult conversations, but also we have to openly talk about it, and openly talk about it in a way that we address and defend this democracy. I take people who engage in such activities are enemies of this democracy.
Enemies of democracy. Very important words there coming out of the DG and the Minister in the National Treasury here this morning at this breakfast, saying that the 2 issues that are actually some of the 2 issues that are plaguing this country are the public sector wage bill that is too high, and of course corruption at a municipal level, and that capacity not being there.